What's up, YouTube? Blue Water Healing here. Today I want to talk to you about something that I've been looking to make a video about for a long time. This is about spiritual oppression, possession, and spiritual warfare. It's a little bit of a discussion about my situation and what I experienced while I was involved in New Age spirituality and practices of divination. Really quick, I'll tell you about myself. I've been, my history. I was baptized Catholic. I didn't have parents with a strong faith in any kind of religion. They just did what they wanted to do, and which kind of left me without any guidance. I went to a Catholic school. Parents didn't support it. My mom was Protestant. My dad was Roman Catholic. My grandfather was a pagan. My mom started leaning towards the pagan way also while I was growing up. She really didn't have a strong background in any kind of faith, which probably led me to my search for God anywhere I could find it. And and here I am in this situation now that I found myself in this situation searching for God, and with that I took whatever I can find as a possibility for me to get closer to Him, which led me, or any kind of spirituality. I questioned the Bible, I questioned a lot of things, and which led me into like paganism also. I see my mom was practicing, my grandfather was a practicing pagan, and that's what led me into my journey through paganism and the New Age kind of spirituality. Anyway, for those of you who don't understand that, these are practices of the occult nature, any kind of divination, Ouija board, tarot card reading, using a pendulum, any kind of Reiki, energy work, quantum healing, hypnosis, quantum touch healing, anything like that, any kind of fortune telling. That's all practices of the occult. And I was very drawn to it for some reason because I didn't have any guidance. Anyway, so I started practicing in all different kinds of areas of the occult, from Wicca to Buddhism, Hinduism, just practicing different spiritualities and trying to find where I could find God or something that resonated with me as some kind of faith-based religion. See, there it is. There's my tattoo that I got because I thought this was the right thing for me. So I'll get right down to it. I started to practice these occult findings, and every time I did something, I didn't realize I was opening doors to the occult and to the demonic realm. I started doing. I took a class in quantum healing hypnosis. It's called QHHT. It's supposed to be really therapeutic. I'm a nurse by trade. I always want to help people. I'm always trying to help people with physical ailments. I want to see people improve. So naturally that attracted me. I find that a lot of people in the healthcare, especially nurses, end up practicing some form of energy work, whether it's Reiki or quantum healing hypnosis, any kind of spiritual work. So that's what kind of lured me, and I saw other nurses doing it as well, and thinking that this would be a good thing for me. So I took the class on the quantum healing hypnosis, became an intern, and from there I became a level 1. I did my practices with that. I also started to do some reading on channeling. So I was so curious what I was communicating to. After you're doing some of these practices of sessions in hypnosis, you start to see the higher self come in, and another voice comes in. Something else comes in that's talking through your client who's laying on the bed, who's in a hypnotic state, and something else is coming in other than them. Other voices, other people talking, another different personality. And that's what got me really curious, what are we talking to exactly? And I did, and I started doing also what's called automatic writing, also spirit writing, and I started channeling through that way. I opened myself so much that I became an open vessel for things. Things were bothering me at night while I was sleeping. You know, for a few years leading up to the point that I had just reached about 9 months ago, I should say. And I just became an open vessel. You know, the spirit writing was the worst thing I could have done. The quantum healing hypnosis, you know, just opened me up more, you know, to all these kinds of otherworldly entities, spiritual entities. I had to go through a few of these hypnosis sessions myself so I could get an understanding as to what was going on. And I found that this was not me. It wasn't a higher self. It felt like something that was playing with me and giving answers that the person who was questioning me, the other practitioner who had me under hypnosis, it was giving her answers that she wanted to hear. And I felt that it was playing with her, not being honest. And I felt when I got up, I was like, what was that? It wasn't me. And I don't think that was my higher self. It didn't feel right. I also started reading about channeling, and I was going to take a level 1 channeling class just because like I said, I needed to know. I needed to know. I always need to know. And that's what gets me myself in my situations. So I spoke to the woman who was hosting the class a little, and she wanted, I told her before I take the class, I have some questions. I'm going to be going for an energy cleansing after all these, you know, practices that I've done that had left me open and vulnerable to things. I had had a lot of questions, and I told her that I needed to go for an energy clearing to get off this negative energy that I have been in contact with all these practices that I had been doing. And she in turn asked me, you know, who are you going to? Because I think I need that myself. After 30 years of practicing channeling, she questioned whether it was truly Archangel Michael who she was coming through to her to give her the information to her clients and herself. So that made me think about this even more. You know, here's somebody who's been doing this for 30 years and wasn't even sure after 30 years what she was talking to. So what complicated my situation is I did some automatic handwriting. Something came through, told me it was my angel, told me it was my guardian angel, told me it was my guide, told me it was a dead sibling in my life, which it lied about everything. When I realized that, I stopped doing it immediately and try to get this thing away from me. You know, and like they tell you in the metaphysical world or the light energy workers world, hold your vibration up really high and it will keep all these bad things out. You know, make sure you're well protected with all of your guards and your guides and your white light of protection, your bubble of protection. It's a bunch of horse poop. Okay, it's all garbage. I kept my vibration up. I kept myself in a happy, peaceful, godly mood, and something got in and grabbed hold of my arm, squeezed it, and till this day, I still have pain in my right arm. My right hand, because this thing was coming through me, I became like a planchette and a Ouija board, except for it was using my arm to write down messages. And when I refused to cooperate with it, this thing grabbed hold of my arm, and it's been wreaking havoc on my life. I've been a mess. I had to go for deliverance prayers, not through anything that I knew. People in the spiritual world could not help me. And they charged me a fortune for sessions to draw off all these demons, which they couldn't do effectively anyway. These clearings only last 24 hours. The demons were right back on top of me. They charged me upwards of $250 per session. I paid over $1,000 for these sessions, you know, collectively to try to draw off this stuff, and nothing would work for me. I finally ended up talking to my husband about it, and he was not happy about the work, the practices that I had been involved with. But he said, let's go to my church. And before I went to his church, I was like, well, I'm a Catholic. My husband goes to a Pentecost church. So I started to seek help from any Catholic priest that I could, and they wouldn't help me. They all said you have to go to the archdiocese, and I contacted the archdiocese, which was very difficult to get in touch with a bishop who would help me. And finally when I told him my situation, and he said, oh, you know what? You need 2 psychological evaluations before I could even see you. And, you know, and they'll do it for free. But, you know, I convinced them to let me come down there, that I was a nurse. I worked in psych. I know I'm not crazy. I need to come down there and see him, that I'm being demonically attacked. I had the worst experience ever. These demons were manifesting themselves. I was being attacked at night, getting poked, stabbed, had paralysis. Things were holding me down in my sleep. I was having erotic, perverted, disgusting dreams. Things were touching me and violating my private parts while I was sleeping. You know, my husband didn't know what was going on. And then finally, when I was at the height of my oppression or possession, I was being possessed. I had no control over my head movements, my arm, my body. I was just flailing all over the place. I was like I was spasming. He said, we got to go to my church. You know, but, you know, going back a little bit, when I did go to the archdiocese, they eventually gave me an appointment. You know, he looked at me, he said, okay, let's do this. Let me do a quick prayer over you and see how it goes. Well, he did the prayer, the deliverance prayer, and, you know, naturally he finished. And I asked him what was going on. What did he think? He says, oh yeah, you have something. He's like, it's like an infection. You're not completely possessed, but you're infected. These things are here, but I need 2 psychological evaluations before I can even start. So I said, geez, you know, that's going to take me at least a month to get one, at least 2 months, because, you know, mental health care in this country isn't great. You know, you got to wait forever unless you're jumping off a bridge. So, I understand he needs to protect his team and himself, because they're more worried about demonic attacks on their own part, and that nobody gets hurt, so that they need their protection. Anyway, long and the short of it, he knew I wasn't crazy and this was a real thing. And he finally I was being attacked so horribly, you know, twice. One time they thought I had a heart attack, and another time they thought I was having a stroke or seizures. And this was all these demons attacking me, trying to grab possession of my mind and confuse me and mess me up. I ended up going to my husband's church. At this point, I was like spasming and having tremors. I was just, you know, having like seizure kind of episodes. He brought me to the church. He sat me down, and while there was a prayer session going on, you know, and one of the women at the church came over to me, and she looked at me and she's like, can I pray for you? And my husband says, yes, please. And I could barely say yes, because I was so messed up. My jaw was clenched. She started to pray for me, and things started coming down. And, you know, they recommended coming to the house, praying in the house, in the church. These people have had me there for sessions, and they have prayed over me for hours. And I could tell you, the first few sessions, these demons grabbed me and threw me all over the floor in that church. You know, you go to some of these Pentecostal churches and you think it's a joke. It's like theater. Well, let me tell you what, these demons threw me all over the floor. I had just parishioners. These people came and they laid their hands on me and they prayed over me, and they prayed for hours, because they knew I was under demonic attack, until they were able to calm this thing down and draw off some of these demons and get me into a state that I wasn't shaking or tremoring anymore. I've been working with the pastor in my husband's church. They're Pentecostal, and the pastor's son and my husband, they've been doing deliverance prayers for me 2 to 3 times a week. And I'll tell you, 9 months ago, I was a train wreck. I couldn't stand sometimes. I was a mess. But now that I've been working with them, God's working on me, Christ is working on me, and I know every day I'm getting closer to where I need to be in my life and in my deliverance with God. I'm not out of the woods, but I know that with God and Jesus Christ on my side, and me with them and them with me, I will beat this thing. I will beat it. You know, so for those of you who are new to spiritual work, I can tell you, beware. Pray to something that's good, because in time you'll get it. Why pray to something demonic and negative that's going to hurt you, when there's God, and he will answer your prayers, and Jesus will answer your prayers, and they are on your side, and they're there for you. For you. You believe in them. You have faith in God. You have faith in Jesus. Jesus will be there for you. If there's anybody out there who's having the same problem as me, I encourage you, give me a call. Not give me a call, but put a message in the comments and tell me what's going on. I could tell you a Baptist minister and a Pentecostal church know what they're doing, and they know how to draw these things off. People, you need to get on board with this. If you're having any kind of manifestations of demonic oppression or possession, or you can't figure out why your life is turned upside down, get to a freaking church. Get to a church, not a freaking church. Get to a church, okay? And get yourself delivered. Get somebody to do some deliverance prayers over you to help you get out of what you've gotten yourself involved in. Again, this is Blue Water Healing. If you like what you hear today, subscribe to my channel. If you want to hear more about my journey through this demonic oppression, please subscribe to my, put a comment in there. I'm going to make more videos about the symptoms of what you can see in this, what manifests, what are the symptoms of manifestation that can cause this. Anyway, take care. Thanks a lot. Love you. God bless you. May Jesus and God be with you.